So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you're joining from. Welcome to Tushita Meditation Center in Delhi. So my name's Thubten Tenpa, and I'll be leading this session today. So today we're going to be doing an analytical meditation on the stages of the path. Today focusing on suffering of the lower realms. So we'll just start by getting into our comfortable state, having found a conducive environment, free from as much distraction as possible, and bright and airy. And we should find a comfortable seated position or a seated place, either on a chair or on a cushion on the floor. So just settle into whichever is comfortable for you. And if you're sitting on the floor, cross your legs if possible, taking the Vairocana or lotus posture with the back up straight and the head straight, tilted slightly forwards, shoulders back yet relaxed, and the hands in the lap, palms facing up, the right palm over the left, and the thumbs just gently touching. So your elbows should also be pointing outwards, making your arms rounded and giving some space under your arms. And just make sure you feel comfortable, make any last adjustments to try and avoid the need or the temptation to move during the session. Try to remain as still and motionless as possible. And if you do need to make any adjustments or satisfy an itch, then do so, but mindfully. But if you can avoid, it's better. Just bring your attention back to the focus of the meditation in order to alleviate that distraction. Usually itches and things go away. And then make sure that your jaw is not clenched, closed, but relaxed. Your tongue just resting on the back of the upper teeth on the palate. And then just take 3 controlled deep breaths in and out. Making sure you fill all of your lungs from the bottom all the way to the top, and release from the bottom up. Then just allow your breath to settle into its natural rhythm, and then bring your awareness lightly onto that rhythm of the breathing. Become aware of your breath, recognizing the sensation either through the tip of, the nostrils, or you can focus your attention on the breathing at the chest as it enters and leaves your body. So we'll just rest on our awareness of our breath for 9 rounds, just to neutralize our mental activities. If at any time your attention becomes directed elsewhere, just be aware, first of all, and just gently guide your awareness back to your breath. Gently holding your awareness there. Like a horseman mounted on a horse, the horse being the breath, and your awareness is the horseman or woman. Not allowing any other conceptualities, just awareness of the breath. Now we'll just bring into our awareness our motivation for this session, making sure it's a positive and directed motivation. So you can think of your own individual motivation. I will guide a general Mahayana motivation. It is a miracle that I am alive. Many others my age or younger have died. It is a miracle that I am alive and have this perfect human rebirth, endowed with 8 freedoms and 10 richnesses. May I use it to be of most benefit to sentient beings. Sentient being, may I use it to alleviate all sentient beings from the vast oceans of samsaric sufferings. and lead all sentient beings without exception to unsurpassed enlightenment. All sentient beings who have been my kind mothers in beginningless past lives, where they have shown me limitless kindness again and again from lifetime to lifetime. Therefore I must repay their kindness by generating special bodhicitta, the thought of enlightenment, by cultivating loving kindness and compassion unceasingly and indiscriminately for all sentient beings, in order to increase that wish and that motivation. Today we are going to meditate on the suffering in the three lower realms, the hell realms, the hungry ghost realms, and the animal realms. But first, through this motivation, in the space before us, at the level of the crown of our head, about one body length in the space before us, arises a visualization, in actuality, Guru Shakyamuni Buddha. There's a square-based throne held aloft by 8 snow lions, representing the 8 bodhisattvas. Their nature and the throne's nature is of pure light, and upon the throne is an open variegated lotus with its petals outspread, and upon that is a sun and a moon disk lying flat, and upon that is the form of Guru Shakyamuni Buddha, the nature of golden light. He has a human aspect with 2 arms and 2 legs and 1 face. He is seated in the Vajra posture, Vairocana posture. His right arm extended downwards, touching the earth, the left folded in his lap, holding an alms bowl filled with nectar. And his face is beautiful and radiant. His mouth gently smiling with loving kindness, and his eyes, like lotus petals, gaze down upon us with immeasurable compassion, protecting us. His hair is arranged in curls, and he has a top knot, an ushnisha, a top with a jewel. He has the 32 marks of a Buddha, and he is adorned with a lustrous saffron robe of an ascetic, and he is surrounded by auras of light. He is greatly pleased with our motivation and wish to meditate on the stages of the path and to alleviate all the suffering of sentient beings. We recite the refuge and bodhicitta lines. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly by my merits of generosity, and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit transmigratory beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my merits of giving, generosity, and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit transmigratory beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my merits of generosity, and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit transmigratory beings. So think that Guru Shakyamuni Buddha, who is actually in the space before us, grants a refuge we've requested. He embodies all Buddha Dharma Sangha. It represents a mind free of all suffering, achieve the state of total liberation from samsara and cyclic existence. And we think that during this session, while we are doing this meditation contemplation, Guru Shakyamuni Buddha emits rays of light from his holy body, centered at his heart. Rays of light come and bestow us realizations and attainments, the experiences required to follow the path. So now we focus our attention to the suffering of the lower realms, starting with the lowermost, the hell realms. So how can we be sure that these realms exist? We have experienced these realms, the sufferings in these realms countless times in countless lives. Due to our heavy negative karma, which creates these situations and conditions within our mind, within our sphere of awareness and experience, just as we are experiencing this present life, this present situation, which seems 100% real. I like to think that we're living in a virtual reality, using that analogy, which in fact we are. And so the mind creates the reality that we perceive as reality. And so these 6 realms, 3 lower, 3 upper realms, the human realm being the 4th above these lower 3. All these, we can see animal beings and their sufferings, and we can see in this, from our experiences and observations, others suffering so intense, animals being crushed, beaten, pierced and tortured unimaginably. We can think that in a reality, perceived reality other than what we're experiencing now, that this could also be a reality that we see only this suffering that they see and they perceive. So what I'm going to use reference now is teachings from Vajrasattva retreat by Kapji Lama Thubten Rinpoche, who's explained in quite graphic detail the sufferings in these lower realms. And Kapji Lama Rinpoche makes reference here also to liberation in the palm of your hand by Pabonka Rinpoche, where these suffering experiences are described. So I will share the link later. So first we have, the process of being reborn in the lower realms. From just before the time of death. At the time of death, the person who is going to be born in the hot hell realm feels very cold. That's not due to the climate or any other external factors. Due to karma, the person feels extremely cold. And due to their heavy karma, the person craves strongly for heat and then dies with that craving, like falling asleep, dreaming, and then waking up. Similarly, the person dies with that strong craving for heat and then goes to the intermediate stage, like dreaming after falling asleep. Following the intermediate state due to past karma, suddenly a vision, a karmic appearance, an appearance of impure karma, an appearance of the impure mind, the disturbing, obscuring thought manifests. And suddenly you find yourself in a world which the whole ground is made of iron, that is oneness with fire. Depending on which of the different hot hells you are reborn into, those appearances, which are the product of your own impure mind, manifest according to, including the karmic guardians who torture you. Like an earth-moving machine driver, your karma makes mountains move and crush you. In the hell realms, it's your karma, it's your mind that does all these things. For example, one of the 8 major hot hell sufferings, the hell of continual resurrection. After the unbelievable length of time, you have to be born in those neighboring hell realms. One such is the plain of swords. The whole ground is completely covered with swords. There is nowhere you can step without cutting your feet. Each time you put your foot down, it gets cut, and each time you lift it up, it recovers. But then you have to step down again, and it gets cut once more. This goes on for inconceivable lengths of time. And finally, when that karma has finished, you have to experience another neighboring hell, such as the forest of trees with leaves like swords, which cuts and pierces your body. You have to experience the putrid swamp, which is like being in a septic tank, drowning in sewage filled with worms. Also the experience of the uncrossable torrent, which is filled with liquid that is oneness with fire and unbelievably hot. Then it's your karmic experience, the appearance of your delusions, your disturbing, obscuring thoughts. Likewise, through the same process, at the time of death, you may experience extreme cold due to your karma. Thus you you crave for heat. So at the time of death you experience extreme heat, unbelievably hot, and you crave, incredible craving for cold. And due to that, you awaken in the cold realms of the hells, where your body is completely immobilized on ice-cold ground or in an ice mountain, as if your shoes are nailed to the ground. Your body is completely caught. It is completely dark, even on the very first level of the cold hells. There is unbelievable, unimaginable suffering of cold, with incredibly cold winds blowing. Imagine your naked body were completely buried in and surrounded by ice, such that you couldn't move. On top of that, it's completely dark, and there's an extremely cold wind and snow blowing over you like a raging blizzard. And again, this suffering continues for unimaginable length of time. Then, alternatively, at the time of death, as a sign that we're going to be reborn as a hungry ghost, we feel a strong aversion towards food, and we don't want to be in any place where there is food. You die with that craving. Again, like a person falling asleep and starting to dream, you die and experience the intermediate state. Then waking up from that is the appearance of the hungry ghost realm, where you experience the inability to find even one spoonful of food or one drop of water, for even a sign of water, for hundreds of thousands of years. Think that one cannot go without food or drink for a few hours or even a day, let alone weeks, months, years. Gebje Lama Rinpoche once gave an example of how unbearable it can be to feel so hungry. He talked about some of the prisoners detained in Tibet by the communist Chinese government, where they would be starved for days. And when they were allowed to go outside for exercise, they would be so hungry that they would search for feces and eat it, due to their intense, unbearable hunger. Unimaginable. And that's in this realm. In this realm we can see the suffering of being born as an animal. Said that the karma to be reborn as an animal is such that it appears at the time of death, an appearance of a particular animal appears to you, and you follow that, and that leads you to being reborn as that animal. And just think the suffering that animal beings go through. Domestic animals being used and beaten by human beings, killed in all variety of ways by human beings. But those that have the liberty, apparent liberty, to be wild animals, constantly live in fear of being hunted, constant fear for their own life. Those who are fortunate to be at the top of the food chain constantly are troubled by having to search for food. Also living in fear for their own lives, of alphas of their own species competing for territory and for mates. So generate strong repulsion, which transforms and generates a strong renunciation for these lower realm sufferings. The wish for oneself to be free, but also the wish for all others to be free. By attaining the state of Guru Shakyamuni Buddha, one can become free, and one can also free numberless sentient beings from the suffering of the lower realms, completely closing the suffering of the lower realms forever. And so we'll recite a brief dedication to that. Due to all these merits, may all the father and mother sentient beings have all happiness, and may the lower realms be empty forever. Wherever there are bodhisattvas, may all their prayers be accomplished immediately. May I cause all this by myself alone. Due to these merits, may I quickly attain Buddhahood and lead all living beings, without exception, into that enlightened state. And I'll just meditate and dedicate with emptiness. And then think that all the sufferings in reality that we've meditated upon, in reality are empty, but they exist in the mere name, merely labeled, created by the mind. Due to all the past, present, future merits collected by me, the numberless Buddhas, the numberless sentient beings who do not exist and exist in mere name, may the I, who do not exist but exist in mere name, lead all the sentient, achieve that state of Buddhahood which does not exist from its own side, exist in the mere name, and let all sentient beings who do not exist from their own side exist merely labeled by the mind. Lead all those sentient beings to that state of Buddhahood which does not exist from its own side, but exist in my name, by myself alone. Does not exist from my own side, but I exist in my name. So thank you everyone. Please thank yourself for coming here and rejoicing for having taken the time to engage in this session, meditating on the stages of the path, which I've unfortunately, due to the constraints of time, have only been able to do very briefly, but we can meditate at great length on the details of these lower realms and their sufferings as they're explained in very extensive details in the sutras, and in particular, as I referenced here, by Pabongka Rinpoche, which was quoted by Kabje Lama Zopa Rinpoche in the Vajrasattva retreat teachings, which is a book, quite a large book that's available. This is chapter from chapter 47 or day 47. 1 moment. Yeah, chapter 47 of that text. But you can find in Pabongka Rinpoche's Liberation in the Palm of Your Hand. But I will put a link. I request them to put a link to this full article of these details and other information about taking rebirth in the lower realms. I'll post a link to the article of this there in the description and YouTube when this session is posted later. So thank you. If anyone has any questions or want to discuss anything briefly, I can hang around after ending this session. So please feel free to do that or post a question in the chat. Thank you all for joining online. It's very wonderful to have you here today and for taking the time. So thank you. I'll be leading one last session on the Lamrim on Friday. Next will be as a result of these gradual stages. So the next topic to meditate is on the three jewels, the three rare sublime ones. So having generated renunciation towards these sufferings, then and wanting to attain a human rebirth in the least in the next life, then we take refuge in the three jewels. So we'll be meditating on them, why they're supreme objects of refuge, why they worthy objects of refuge. So thank you, and hope to see you then. And yeah, like I said, please stay around if you wish to ask a question. First I have to end the